Well, it's a great delight to be out here at Blooming Advantage, and I'm with Grace Dinsdale. And Grace, you know, I've often bought so many of the plants and sold so many of the plants from y'all.
Well, thank you.
We wanted to figure out, because we know the process, but we wanted to figure out what is the process of how you get such amazing, wonderful plants.
Sure. Well, it starts with cultivar selection, of course. You've
Right.
got to choose the best varieties that are available or that you have collected in order to have a good plant that's going to perform well in the garden. And that's always been one of the main factors that we consider when we choose plants, is plants that work well here in our droughty summer environment, that work well in the Pacific Northwest. That's definitely part of how we choose the cultivars that we offer.
And then once you get those cultivars growing, what is the process? How do you harden them up for our environment?
Well, of course, we don't want to start too soon with the hardening up. In the beginning, we give them a very nice beginning. We give them heat and fertilizer
Right.
and protection from the elements. We want them to get off to the healthiest start that we can, stress-free.
Right.
So once our plants are started, we usually root cuttings. Most things are grown vegetatively. Some things are from seed, depending on whether we can get a reliable, uniform plant from seed or not.
Right.
So as soon as that plant is ready to go and without any serious stress in its early life, we'll go ahead and transplant up in our transplant line, which is in the barn. And then we bring those plants out, and we have a few greenhouses like this with bottom heat. So these plants have a very sheltered life in here. They've got bottom heat, they're flood irrigated, they've got a nice ambient temperature. They've got natural ventilation. When it gets hot, the roofs will open. We've got a shade system. So these plants are getting the best of the best.
Of what they need.
That's right. And then as soon as they're really pushing roots and they're starting to take hold and grow actively, we make things harder for them.
Okay, and so I suggest that we're going to take a little break and go to a different place and
That's
talk
right.
more about
Yes.
how you do that process.
That's right, yes.
Okay, I have to say, Grace, that this is where you're putting plants now as you're getting them more acclimated. Mm-hmm. But it's much colder out here to me.
Oh,
so
yes.
explain that process.
Yeah. So when we have an actively growing plant and then we move it outside, it does change everything about the way it grows.
Really?
from the time it comes outside. So inside, with that warmer temperature, the tops are growing more, the roots are growing, but not like the tops. We bring it out and the tops kind of stop for a little bit, and the roots start really growing.
Wow.
In those colder temperatures. So the cells in the leaf also change composition, and they become denser, have less water in them, and so we get a really good leaf substance that's more resistant, more resilient to weather extremes.
So this isn't just a theory, there's actually some science behind why y'all do this.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was wondering too, what kind of a soil, are you big fans of fertilizing? What is your concept for that kind of stuff for soil?
Well, we like to use compost in our soil, and we do in all of our soils.
Nice.
We also use slow release fertilizer. We like to have the fertilizer last through the time that the plant is on the bench at the retailer, so that when it's still got a charge, once you take it home and plant it in the garden.
And being out here, it seems like, I don't know how many acres it are. It seems like there's a lot though, and there's so many plants. How many varieties do y'all grow?
Well, we grow, it changes every year, and I don't really count them, but it's always in excess of 2,000.
Wow.
and it's less than 3,000. So it's somewhere in that range depending on the year.
That's absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. Go ahead.
Another thing that I forgot to mention about the soil that we do is we try to establish a soil web of microorganisms and things. So we use compost tea, we have mycorrhiza in there. We're really trying to create a natural environment that's going to also help the plant withstand pest pressure.
And that's what the soil web is that whole connectivity of everything that's going on within it to help the plant thrive.
That's right, yeah.
Well, you know, for over 20 years now, I have not only bought, but I've also sold a lot of Blooming Advantage plants, and I have to tell you, they are wonderful, and it's always fascinating to find out exactly how they grow them so well. So if you're interested, go to I'm sure they can go to your website and find out who sells the
That's
plants, right?
Yeah, on the Blooming Nursery, and also there's a Plant Finder bloomingadvantage.com site, and that has a list of the retailers that carry our plants.
Amazing. So there you have it. If you want a great plant and you know that it's grown very well for your garden, just pick up one of the Blooming Advantage plants. Grace, it's always a delight. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, William.